Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God chapters 534 through 538, or season 3 episodes 117 through 121. So yeah, lots of chapters here. We had 5 chapters come out in May. I haven't had a lot of time to work on this month, stupidly, so sorry about that. And yeah, because of that, it's almost the end of June by the time I'm getting this to you all. So yeah, super sorry about that, but this is all the chapters that were released officially in May, and I've got some pretty in-depth notes on them. So again, buckle in for the usual in-depth breakdown of Tower of God stuff. Sorry if I look even more awful than usual. One of my lights just blew out before I started recording today, and I didn't have a replacement for it, so I'm gonna have to go get a replacement for that. So sorry if it looks even worse than usual, but usually everything looks bad. Instead of usually the general thing for streamers, YouTubers and stuff, the camera's at an upper angle so it looks down on you, and that's a really good angle for not looking terrible, but for some reason I've just been stupid and I need to put my camera up higher in my setup eventually, but my camera's always just been sitting down on my desk, so you're looking up at me and it just it makes me look like I have a double chin. It looks awful. Plus, I have never, ever been able to get my lighting or white balance or whatever right to make me not look either super duper red or super duper pale. My lighting and stuff has always been screwed up with that. It's been years and I'm still an absolute disaster. But yeah, either way, sorry for that random tangent off of Tower of God, but we've just got so much to talk about. We've got a lot to get into. I have a bunch of images to throw up on screen when I need them. I have a bunch of callbacks to previous things that relate to things in these chapters, and yeah, there's just I went pretty in depth on this. It's one of these things, I always do it that way. It took me maybe an hour per chapter to get through this. This is also the first time that I can think of. Usually I'll get corrections from all of you in the comments if there's a translation mistake, and that really helps me. And when I do the review, I'll bring that up. This is the first time I took the unofficial, the fan translation, and the official translation, and took notes on both at the same time to make my notes for this video. And from that I can say there are a few things that the official translation didn't really do that great on that the fan translation elucidates, but there are also some things where the fan translation was just straight up not right, or they left out kind of important details. So I feel like both translations definitely have their issues. Reading both, I hope thinks give a reader a bigger amount of knowledge on what things actually should be. But reading just one, know that there are mistakes in both. There are mistakes I definitely found in both and was like, wow, that's not a good way to have translated that. But yeah, either way, I would actually recommend reading both. Of course, officially, you gotta officially recommend reading the official one to support CU, but I also think that reading the fan translation can help you gain a greater understanding. So, also do that if you want the greater understanding. But either way, let's start with chapter 534, or season 3, episode 117. We start that off with Leviathan realizing the situation that he's the situation that he's in being absorbed, being eaten by Bomb, and he begins to struggle, to freak out. Then we cut away and we get to see the scene that I think is just really creative writing. I think it's really well written, where so we've had this random soldier that held on to Orari when he was falling, or Yorari. I'm not gonna lie, I still get Orari and Yorari mixed up. Not gonna lie to you. But Orari, I think is the kid. I think is the child. The child of the family, or the branch head. But they realize, why can this soldier, we're running to try to keep up with Bomb's group, why is this random soldier keeping up with us? Why is this random soldier so fast? I thought that was just so creative, because it's one of those things where so many times there'll be a group of the main characters running and there's just random soldiers or whatever, the main bad guys running, there's random soldiers running with them, and nobody ever acknowledges it or brings it up. So I actually like that, CU could have totally sorry, So you could have totally done the same here and just like had random soldiers running with them. But they actually brought it up as a plot point. Why is this random soldier keeping up with us? I love that. I love it. Also, when he turns and tries to fight him, he blocks his attack as well, and that's when he really knows, oh yeah, something's up here. We get the reveal, the introduction of at least one of the Daijang. I hope I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. The Daijang, which translates directly to captain or leader. They use captain earlier in the series in the official translation, but for some reason they translate it to boss here, even though it's the same word. So captain, boss, leader, any of that's fine. The word itself, I think, is based on a military rank. But there's at least two of them, if not more, because the one that we see here is definitely not the one, visually speaking, that met with Chan Dewan. And even then, the one that met with Chan Dewan looks the same, but that could be two different people, but they look the same. So from this, I went back to do a little bit of research, and in Season 3, Episode 48, Yule refers to captains in the plural. He also says that he still hasn't fully earned the trust of the captain. The captain doesn't really trust Yule yet, which would make sense if Yule's from one of the 10 families here and stuff. And he says that the captain that told him that Bomb was an irregular and told Yule to tell Bomb that Jinsung was at the nest is not the captain that he usually speaks to. So, that's why there could be more than two. So we know there's the one that was with Chan Dewan. That one might be the one that Yule usually speaks to. And that would mean there are two. There's this one and the one he usually speaks to who spoke to Chan Dewan. But if the one he usually speaks to isn't the one that spoke to Chan Dewan, that means that we now have three. We have the one that spoke to Chan Dewan, we have the one that's here, that told him about Bomb being an irregular and told him about where Jinsung was so that he could tell Bomb, and then there's the one he usually talks to, if they're different people. So there's two or at least three, judging by Season 3, Episode 48. Also, some other things we know that Levi, like from, I guess, like Chapter 1 of Season 3, maybe, we know that Levi worked for Zahard, and that, sorry, I can't even read what I have in my notes here. Oh, but also, I was like, what on earth does this say? That Levi worked for Zahard, but Levi also worked for the captain. And that makes me think, is the captain, or are the captains, working with Zahard? Because I've seen so many people in my comment section that just assume that they're anti-Zahard, but I feel like that is an assumption. Now, they might be anti-Zahard, but I think we're actually making an assumption by saying that. The captains might actually be working with Zahard, because what they did here with telling Bomb where Jinsung was and setting all this up, the only person, or the only group that this is not good for, really, is the Lopobia family, to be honest. Because they got Bomb to go and get Leviathan, and that's not necessarily bad for Zahard so much as it's bad for Traumaray. So we know that Gastong's making his own plays, Traumaray's doing his own thing here even though he's loyal to Zahard. So many of the family heads are doing their own thing. So what are the odds that Zahard's making his own plays, Zahard's doing his own thing? He's the king after all. So there might be a good chance that the bosses, the captains, whatever you want to call them, are actually working with Zahard, and they're just part of Zahard making his own plays behind the scenes. Because, again, what they did with Chan Dewan was convince Chan Dewan to seal themselves in the walls. So the captains could be anti-Zahard, or they could be working with them. We actually, I feel like we can't really make a determining statement one way or the other yet. We then get some confirmation with Yule confronting Yorari, I'm assuming is the snake, the branch leader. Again, get their names confused. I probably should have had that down before now, but even when I think I have it down, I still mix it up. But we get confirmation Yule's from the Lopobia family there and everything, and also he has Traumaray's flute, and it's a really, really funny scene. That's a really great scene, actually. Then Leviathan is breaking through the seal, and Rack just bonks him back into the seal with Rock Throw. Macheni then rejoins Marco. We have R.I.P. Orari, if I'm not getting them mixed up. He just got absolutely demolished by the captain. And then at the very, very end of the chapter, the Suspendium dissolves and kills the Odd-Eyed Cobra. And if you will remember, when they first enter into the Suspendium, and Bomb starts hearing Leviathan's voice and all that, or maybe it wasn't when they first entered, maybe it was when they got to the seal, Leviathan told Bomb, or the voice in Bomb's head that we didn't know who it was yet, told Bomb that they're in every bit of the Suspendium, all of the Shinsu around him, which then makes sense why it dissolved once he was absorbed by Bomb, because he was in all of it. So yeah, that makes sense. Then we move on to chapter 535, or season 3, episode 118, and we start there with Macheni mentioning that Bomb got what was in there. She's like, so we found what he was looking for, whatever. So we know later on that Bomb lies to Macheni, but this statement back in season 3, episode 118 shows that Macheni knows he was lying. Macheni knows that he got what was in there. So we have confirmation she knows. Kel picks up the squad. Perditi bribes out Dobo. And Dobo is the son of a bird who serves the family head, so we can assume that Dobo's father's one of the 23 great beasts. Probably, maybe the eagle owl that Perditi keeps mentioning again and again. Maybe the one that he was riding on back in the flashback when they fought Akranak. We see that Jinsung is still not fully recovered from his fight with Caliban. And then we continue on with the really well-written Jinsung versus Perditi and Holan fight. This fight is, like, seriously one of the best written in the series, I think, when it comes to just, I don't know, the detail and attention to the actual, like, mechanics of the fight. But the feathers create a dark area, and Jinsung can't sense their vibrations in it. He's like, oh, it's fine. I can't see them, but I'll just sense the vibrations in the Shinsu, but then he can't. And as I mentioned in the reaction, I think that this is a play on something that in real life owls have the ability to do. Some owls in real life have large wing to body ratios, and some have like really soft feathers, and that sort of like, the soft feathers kind of act like soundproofing foam so that they don't make a lot of noise, but also the large wing to body ratio means that they don't have to flap as hard or as often to fly, so they can fly more quietly. So yeah, basically I think that this might be a play on owls being able to fly silently in, or basically silently in real life. Because we know that CU does a lot of that for these anima things, like making all of Holan's creatures actual extinct sea creatures. So it's a really great fight. Holan busts out the Camaroceras, and then Viol comes in to help, and we get cliffhung there. From there we move into chapter 536, or season 3, episode 119, where we get confirmation from Bomb at the very beginning. He says he's only using a little trickle of the Leviathan's power. From there, Yasracha gives this speech. Yasracha gives this speech about not being controlled, whatever, and he is just way too confident. Maybe it's because I'm so many like weeks ahead from where this chapter happened now, because it happened last month. But we now know that, yeah, Yasracha was way too confident. Yasracha's talking all this shit, and like it did not hold up. Like, Yasracha, this did not hold up for you, man. But he gives this super confident speech, overconfident speech, and then Traumare drops the greatest panel in the series, just says, and the wording makes it too, where he just says, "You sure look weird," and sits back down. He stood up, it was this cool moment and everything, he just says, "You sure look weird," sits back down. The greatest moment in the series, it's so funny. And then we have Yasracha fights against the Fandor Harp and Cobalt, and the Fandor Harp seems to be able to go invisible, and then like we see its tail or fin or whatever keep attacking. And I guess that maybe it has some sort of light manipulating ability, because we see that it can go invisible. Like, not just like the others, which seem to be stored somewhere, like maybe just compressed and stored away in some like pocket dimension or whatever, by Traumare, even though we don't see where he's storing them. But it seems to actually be able to still be there, but to not be seen, so I guess it can just go invisible. Plus, remember, we haven't seen it again since, but the guards, like, had their eyes burn and stuff when it showed up, and there are a couple panels of it where it looks like it's shining. So maybe it just has light manipulating abilities. Maybe the shining light blinded those guys back in the flashback. And it can just, like, yeah, make bright lights, go invisible, things like that. But yeah, Yusracha fights the Fandor Harp and Cobalt. Yama's confused even with the memories. He's like, wait, why is Yusracha fighting him? What's going on here? So I was kind of thinking, like, okay, so then what did Yama see? Like, we got the flashback as readers, and Yama says, oh yeah, I got my father's memories and all that. What did Yama see? Because Yama still seems confused on what's going on here. He still seems to not quite grasp everything that's happening. So it makes me wonder, like, yeah, how much does Yama know compared to what we as readers know? We go back into a flashback, though. We see Wang Wang having been attacked by all the canines. They and Traumerei prepare to leave. Wang Wang tells Yusracha about the three fangs in his heart, and asks him to give the three fangs to his children, Yusracha, and to kill him, and Yusracha just refuses, just says no. So Traumerei forces him to kill him, and again, Wang Wang's like, you finally freed yourself, but Yusracha hasn't been freed. He didn't do it of his own will. Then Traumerei leaves, and the canine, he leaves the canines and Nen Nen's body with Yusracha, and the canines start to leave. So here's something that I will say changed my opinion a little bit that I didn't really catch compared to the first time I saw the scene. Because the first time I saw this, I'm like, Wang Wang made this sacrifice to save the canines. So by slaughtering the canines, Yusracha is really just throwing this whole sacrifice away, and it seems disrespectful to Wang Wang after he made the sacrifice to just throw it all away by slaughtering these guys. But something I didn't notice the first time I'm reading, we see when the canines go to leave away, they just walk over Nen Nen's body. I didn't notice that the first time. So really, in context now, having seen that, they just killed Yusracha and then walked over Nen Nen's body like it was nothing. Like, oh well, killed the guy that was our leader, now we're just walking over her body, time to leave. So I guess that detail does make it a little different. It shows, because before I was like, well, the canines were forced to, they didn't have a choice. But this, they still were forced to and still didn't have a choice. But this shows more carelessness and callousness on the part of the canines, where they were like, we just killed this guy, walked over her body, I guess we got nothing better to do, let's just leave now. It just showed, like, they didn't try to hold, like, a funeral for their leader or anything. They're just, oh well, whatever, let's go home. So yeah, I guess that detail kind of makes things a little bit more complex than before, where I was like, screw Yusracha for killing these guys. But now it's a little bit more complex, you know? It was something I didn't notice the first time. So Yusracha slaughters the canines, and he has all three fangs at this point. We see him holding the heart with the three fangs and stuff, and then we end the chapter on one final attack in the present time from Yusracha. And this brings me to a discussion that I want to have on plot holes that this brings up. And I think that these plot holes are on purpose by CU. I think there is a meaning behind it that we still need to see. So the plot hole is, when Yama and Yusracha fought during the Gakujudo-san game, Yusracha says to Yama that Yama and Paul's mothers weren't canines, and Doom confirms this. But Doom says, Yama's mother's the one that I considered a real mother and everything, but he confirms. So Nen Nen's not a canine? I don't get this. So is Nen Nen, like, I thought they said, oh, she's base kin like us, but then again, remember when Wang Wang first said her, or first saw her, he said, oh, it's a human woman, when he first saw her after the Akronak battle and all that. So is she human then? Is she not canine? Why does she have a tail? I don't understand all of this. So yeah, there's a plot hole. Again, I don't think it's like a plot hole that's never going to be filled in. I think we're getting some explanation eventually. But yeah, why is that? Also, in this same place, Doom says that he doesn't know his biological mother, but he was raised by Yama's. We see that the flashback confirmed this part. He says that the fangs can create followers and resist control, or give somebody the ability to create followers and resist control. It makes sense why Yusracha could do this if he has one of the fangs, if he can create the feline people or turn people into feline people like we saw. Same with Doom creating the canine people. We know that Yama used Doom's power to create new canine people. And resist control. Alright. Yama couldn't resist Yusracha's control though. And also Yama couldn't create new canine people by himself. And the reason that Yusracha gives for this is because Yama's not a full-blood canine. His mother wasn't a canine. But, I don't know, this still doesn't fully make sense. Because, I mean, I guess Yusracha's a full-blood feline, so that works. I don't know. Still doesn't fully make sense then. But, beyond this, Doom gives a flashback story, and Doom's flashback is incongruent with the flashback that we as readers actually get. So Doom says that Wang Wang told him to rescue his siblings and gave him one of the fangs. We know from the flashback, Wang Wang didn't give Doom one of the fangs. Wang Wang was surprised that Yusracha and Nen Nen went through with this in this way. So it definitely doesn't make sense that he would have told Doom to rescue his siblings if he was surprised by Yusracha and Nen Nen's immediate actions and the way they went about doing these things. So that's been proven wrong by the flashback. Now, he says that Yusracha stole a fang. Okay, that could make sense. We know that he had 3, maybe he kept one for himself and gave the other 2 away. Doom says that he promised Yusracha to go into hiding, and he says that Yusracha murdered the canines for treason. And that's kinda true. Somewhat true. I mean, I guess you could argue he did kill the canines for treason. That makes sense. He says that Yama was born with the 3rd fang. We know that that one wasn't. So we know that Doom, according to Doom's story, Doom was given 1 fang by Wang Wang and told to rescue his siblings. That didn't happen. Yusracha grabbed the 3. Yusracha stole 1 when he slaughtered the canines and all that. Kinda true. Yusracha had all 3 of them. Yama was born with the 3rd according to Doom. Not true. Again, Yusracha had the 3 of them. So Doom's story is not right at all from what we see. This could be, this would be bad if it were like a retcon, because it just totally doesn't make sense. It totally doesn't line up. My thoughts are either, this is the less likely, Doom is lying because he wants to protect Yama in some way. I don't think Doom was lying here. I think Doom believed what he was saying, even if what he was saying was just totally not correct. I think Doom believed it. Or, Doom was mistaken in some way. I don't know, because Yusracha had the 3 fangs. Maybe Yusracha told Doom to lie about this, but that wouldn't make sense for Doom to lie about it still in this moment. I think for some reason Doom is mistaken. Whatever happened where Yusracha implanted the fear within them or whatever, I think that that is also when Yusracha gave them 2 of the fangs. But here's the thing. Did Yama really have one? Because supposedly Yama had the one that Doom said he had, and then Doom gave him his, so now Yama has 2 and Yusracha still has the other one. Theoretically, if the story is true. But what if Yusracha gave one to Paul and Doom, and then Doom gave his to Yama, and then Paul would have one, Yama would have one, and Yusracha would have one now? Would that make more sense? Would that make less sense? I don't know. It still doesn't quite make sense why Yama couldn't create new canine people or resist control, but maybe it is because he only had one of the 3 fangs and he needs all 3 because he's not a full canine person. But that would mean that Nen Nen's not a canine person, so why does she have ears? I mean, she has a horn. Dogs don't usually have those. Why does she have a tail? It was said, I mean, Yusracha always called her a dog person, a beastkin. But remember, Wang Wang, when he first saw her, called her a human. So was she just not a beastkin then? There's a lot of confusion here that, again, I don't think is bad writing on CU's part. I think this is all on purpose. I just don't think that we've been told everything yet. I think there's still more flashback that we need to see. But that, yeah, brings us to the end of that discussion. The end of the 3rd of the 5 chapters here. So let's just get into chapter 537, or what is it, season 3, episode 120. So starting there, Holon identifies Bomb as the irregular. The translation is pretty messy there, honestly, in the official translation, where it's like, wait, how does he know? He's like, he looks like an irregular, and wait, how do you know what an irregular looks like? But no, in the fan translation, it's pretty clear. He's like, he looks like the irregular from the description that we were given and all. So it makes a lot more sense in the fan translation. We see a flashback of Bomb lying to Macheni at Kunagro Agnes's suggestion, and she allows them to use the warp fleet on her carrier. And this is why going back through and taking these notes and doing these reviews is good. Another thing that I just completely forgot about, I hadn't thought about at all, Macheni says that she's activating the warp drive in 20 minutes. So yeah, this whole time that these more recent chapters in June have been going on, I completely forgot that they were on kind of a 20-minute time limit before Macheni's yeeting out of there. But I love the goofy Bomb and Jinsung run we see like twice. It's really funny. So Bomb uses Shinwan-Ryu to break through Dabo's technique, allowing Jinsung to hit Perditi. Holon yoinks Bomb in with Pikaya and attacks with Parapetoya, and this entire fight is just so cool and so good. Bomb blocks it with the blue Thrissa shield and attacks with lethal move Blue Dragon Claw. It's all so cool. I really love this fight. Holon gives this whole internal speech about never having encountered someone as talented as him who's still growing. Everybody he's met who's been talented is sort of reached their sort of place where they've stagnated, they've plateaued, but he's never met someone with as much talent as he had that is still growing. We then cut away to the Trauma Ray side of things, where Yasracha's attacks just get swatted away with the appearance of the arrogant Kraken. Yama frees Yasracha from the tentacle, and we get this line, and it's really cool, about how Yasracha's fighting a battle he knows he can't win. Yasracha then just gets pasted with the appearance of the Enraged Rapid. So completely pasted by the appearance of the Enraged Rapid. I talked about this a little bit. I don't think this is what the Rapid's design is based on. I've got some pictures here, hang on. But the Enraged Rapid, I think, is probably just based on like a fantasy dragon, because it just looks like a video game or anime manga dragon. It doesn't look like a sort of historical historical is maybe not the right word, a mythological dragon, Eastern or Western. I think it's just like a fantasy dragon. It doesn't look like real life sea dragons, which are relatives of seahorses. And it doesn't really look like the blue dragon, but the blue dragon is such a cool animal. I mean, maybe you could kind of make an argument. The blue dragon is a predatory stinging sea slug, and they're so cool. They're some of the coolest looking animals. So many people don't even know they exist. They're so cool looking. They eat like jellyfish in Portuguese man o' wars and stuff, and they're just so cool looking. And so Enraged Rapid, I don't think its body shape is really based off of this, but I guess maybe you could argue it has the set of wings, then the set of the like pronged hands, then another set down below. Maybe, I don't know. I just think they're cool. Animal time with Haku. Haku of Animal Planet. But yeah, I think maybe Enraged Rapid could be based on that, but I doubt it. I think it's just a fantasy dragon, really. But that brings us to the end of 537, and we're going to end off the video with chapter 538, or season 3, episode 121, where we get the introduction of Kundevo Perez. I think Perez is a much better name translation than Ferez with an F. Like I mentioned before in my reactions, FUG, when written as like the abbreviation in Korean characters, is like Pyog. So again, making like more of a P sound than an F sound. So I think that this is meant to be Perez, not Ferez, just because Perez is an actual common name. So he stops Nanatona. He calls Marco Asensio Lord Asensio. We know from the stuff that Kun Aguro Agnes says back on Hidden Floor that Kun Marco Asensio is apparently a leader of a faction within the Kun family. So there's a really, really good chance that Kundevo Perez is part of Asensio's faction. Yusracha's body then reforms around his core, and there are 3 prongs missing from the 9-pronged core, which might mean, you know, cats have 9 lives. Does that mean 3 lives down, 6 lives to go? I have some more images. So this is when the core first reforms. You can see he still has 6 prongs left, and 3 are destroyed. And then later on, when we see a full body shot, it is the same. There are still 6 prongs there that we can see, and 3 apparently missing. So yeah, does that mean Yusracha is 3 lives down at this point and has 6 to go? Because that's what his core looks like now. Is that a reference to the whole cats have 9 lives thing? But yeah, just wanted to bring that up. Then, let's see what happens after that. Doom tells Yuan Sung to activate the warp fleet, and this is Yama's plan. They're going to destroy the warp fleet as soon as it activates and they go through. And even if they get stranded in the middle area, which is something that Perditi and Perseus mentioned could happen before, even if they get stranded in the middle area, they just get teleported to randomly who knows where, or even if they die in the explosion, it's better than staying here and getting definitely, certainly killed by the family head. They ask LaFave to destroy it once they're through. I love the scene during the fight between Yama and Yusracha versus the creatures of Traumerei, where they say, or I think it's Yama specifically says, why do I feel like the more we fight, the further away we're getting? And then we see the shot of them even further away. I love that. Just, it's a great way of showing not only the actual literal physical distance, but a great sort of metaphor visualization for the distance between them in power. It's really, really great. And the more they fight, the more they notice the distance. It's so cool. It's so cool. Perditi once again mentions Eagle Owl, something that he mentioned when he first went up against Jinsung. So is that Dobo's father, or is Dobo's father an Eagle Owl? Is that like the big giant one they were riding on in the flashback? Who knows? But they fight while trying to draw Bomb back to where Traumerei can sense him. Bomb then uses Shinwanryu, and Traumerei notices him and he yoinks him in there. And that's really cool, because that's probably how Traumerei knew it was Bomb, because he used Shinwanryu, and that's how Traumerei could sense. Everybody else is using normal Shinsu control, and then he senses Shinwanryu, and he's like, ah, that person must be the irregular. Cobalt, yoink him up. Cobalt does the frog tongue thing with the green Shinsu, yoinks Bomb into there. And we see shots of Calavan, and I keep forgetting that Calavan and Liboric are even there. I swear that they are left out of like every panel. We never see Calavan and Liboric. They haven't got like a word in chapters upon chapters. I really keep forgetting that Calavan and Liboric are still even there. They haven't done anything. And then we get cliffhung there with Bomb and Traumerei's first meeting. And that's where we end. So yeah, really great 5 chapters. The series is cooking right now. The series is doing great. It's doing really, really, really good. I love everything happening right now. We're kind of at the Nest's climax, it feels like. I feel like from here, of course I have all the June stuff to review once June is over. But again, all the June chapters so far have been incredible. And then from here, I'm assuming we've got to have like less than 10 chapters of the Nest left before we move on to whatever's next. I mean, we got so many countdowns of like, we don't know what's going on with the warp that Augustus and Sophia Tanarat. We know that Machenies is going to be leaving. We know that there's the plan to go through and destroy Traumerei's. We know that now from, again, future chapters, spoilers if you're for some reason going through these reviews before reading, spoilers for like a chapter or 2 after this. We know that Gastang is showing up at Traumerei's home, so Traumerei may have to leave to deal with that. But yeah, I feel like we've got like less than 10 chapters left, and then the exciting thing is, where do we go next? Do we go to Traumerei's house? Do we go to the Lopobia floating castle, the headquarters? Is that the next arc? Or do we do we cool down from this and cut away to the next thing, or go on to the next thing? I have no idea. But with all that out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. Like I said, Tower of God's been great. Love these chapters. Hope you enjoyed this. Again, sorry, visually, sure the video doesn't look great. Voice-wise, my throat's been killing me. You've probably noticed a lot of jump cuts because I've had to take a lot of breaks I've coughed a lot and had to get water a lot, and I'm going to cut all that out of the video. So if there's like just a bunch of choppiness, it's because I've had to cut out a bunch of coughs and a bunch of getting something to drink. Because my, my throat's just really dry and really bothering me right now. Wasn't before, usually doesn't when I record, but for some reason, hey, just happens, I guess. But either way, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, my first thoughts, wow, I just went into full automated mode, holy crap. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of these chapters, what you thought of my my review of them, anything I might have missed, anything like that, anything you want to talk about. Subscribe for more Tower of God, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, ask and I can give you a link. And if you want to help support the channel on Patreon, it really does help me to continue to make videos. Either way, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.